Brother Terry has done an incredible job. I'm so grateful for Brother Terry, and I asked him to come speak to, so that you have confidence that it's going to be fair.
A couple of things first. I recognize that Rhonda is a little bit colorblind. In that fan chart, she said dark yellow. That was actually orange. And second, she's right. And Heber, I'm glad that that happened to you and not just me on that syntax error. But Heber is quick to get those things repaired. So a couple of things first. In the opening shot that was on the board, it talked about when a session date has been approved by Brother Marvell or Brother Jairus, it indicated that Heber would be putting that session date on. That's incorrect there, information. What happens is once that happens, Brother Marvell or Brother Jairus will contact me, let me know we've been approved for a session date. I will then put the date on, and then you'll be able to see it on the ancestral work page that that date is open. If it's for a specific area like Rhonda demonstrated for October 18th, that's for the Mount Pleasant area only. So anybody who in the AUB system is from the central Utah area, they would then have the ability to submit names for that area. I know in the past we've cut off baptism dates, especially at a certain number. That's something that we're not doing per se. The only problem is after you get up to about 250 names, the water starts to get pretty murky. We don't know if that's from a lot of sins or what it is, but that have been washed away. But that's the one thing we notice as we look into it. But in the last session, we had 331 names. I can tell you that previously, when I looked at the history, we were doing maybe 500-600 names a year. The last couple of years, we've done 1,800 and 2,500. And at the rate we're going right now, we're projected to surpass 3,000 names. So like Brother Dave said, we want to wear the font out. We're going to have a good test of what happens in May. May 21st, we have a special session for Pinesdale. May 29th, we have a special session for the Eden Hills Order. And then May 31st, that's in June for the Pinesdale. We have on the 24th, I believe it is, the regular session. 29th is Eden Hills Order. Then the 31st is the special session that Marianne asked for. So within 1 week, we will turn around that font 3 times. And we'll see if that can actually be done. So it'll be a good test week. A couple of things. As you start submitting proxy names, make sure your proxies have valid recommends. I go through those 2 or 3 times prior to the session date. Some of you have received calls from me that your proxies do not have valid recommends. There are times that I know when the council members turn them into the archives, they get them in as quickly as they possibly can. Sometimes things get lost. So if the person does have a valid recommend and I give you a call, just take a picture and text it to me. That way we know that the people who are there with proper recommends. Second, I know Sister Rhonda touched on this as well, as proxy work being done in the church prior to 1978. It's 100% up to the patrons. I've been asked that question a ton of times. It's not up for me to decide. I had one individual who had work done in 22, 23, 24, and they said, no, they're not going to accept that work. That's up to them. And I'm not sure how many of you are aware of what happened, but in 1921, actually April of 21, Heber J. Grant had a message sent out to all of the stake presidents throughout the entire church that said that they would no longer confer the priesthood upon anybody. I know Brother Dave talks about this all the time when he was married to his first wife, Danette. He accepts that work. And the reason why he accepts that work is because he knew the person who did that work, and he knew that that person properly had the priesthood conferred, and that he was properly called as an apostle in the church. And so he knew for sure that work was valid. And that's what Sister Rhonda was saying. Make sure that you as the patron know that that work is valid. It's not up to me as the temple recorder to make that determination. I'll give you an opinion of what I would do in my work, but I will not tell you what to do for your ancestors. That's not up to me. What Rhonda was talking about making things fair. There's a priority that we have to look at when we're doing endowment sessions. And as an example, this June coming up, we currently have 4 live couples going through. So there's eight of the 25 seats already filled. First priority, of course, would be any plural wives, if there are any. In this case, there are not any. So then the next priority are mom and dad and other mothers. That is the top priority there. Then from there, we look at full-blooded siblings. We also look at grandparents, aunts and uncles and cousins before we will accept anybody who doesn't have anything to do with the session. We want to give everybody the opportunity to be able to come through that session that would like to, with that brother, sister, son or daughter, granddaughter, grandson that wants to go through. There have been times where Brother Dave and Brother Marvell have increased it by 1 or 2 seats so we can accommodate people. So we want to do things as fair as possible, and we don't want to leave anybody out. I mean, if we had, like Rhonda said, if we had more temples, we could have more work done and more people going through. That's not the case right now. We only have here in Mexico. So my phone's always on. Georgette and Rachel, no matter who I'm with, they know if I get a call from somebody and it has to do with temple work, they know I'm going to answer the phone and take care of whatever I can. The last thing I want to say is we want to make sure that we're doing quality work. This last baptism session, we had, and we talked about this in the temple workers meeting this past Saturday, we want to make sure that the names that are there are as complete as possible. We know that can't happen sometimes. You may have a person who you know, her name is Jane, and she's married to Joe Rakelli. So we'll put in there Mrs. Jane Rakelli, because we know she was married to Joe. We know she existed. We know she lived past the age of 8. That's the key. We had a couple of individuals that all we had was a last name. Brother Marvell kind of shook his head a little bit and said, we need to make sure we have valid names. So please do as much research as you can to get the valid names. I know I talked to Sister Mary Ann several years ago, and I asked her the question as I was doing my own genealogy, how do I know that this is really my ancestor? And she said, like Sister Joy pointed out, the more sources you have, the more you know that person is a valid ancestor. I had an individual, her last name was Savage, went back on my mother's line, probably about 8 or 9 generations. There was just something about it I knew wasn't right. I put her in, took her out, put her in, took her out several times. Found out it wasn't one of my ancestors. I ended up deleting a number of lines that I thought were valid that were invalid. So before you enter those names, make sure they're valid. And I can tell you with Family Search, have to be very careful, because anybody can enter anything they want on those ancestry lines. But if you feel comfortable with what's there and the sources that are there, then you go with it. But nobody can get into your Ancestral Quest program. That's yours. So once you put that in there, and once you get it in ancestral work, nobody else is going to touch that either. So you have to be extremely careful when you're doing the research. Again, if there are special circumstances that you have when you have requested a special session, please call me at any time. Sister Melanie can attest to that. Her and I spoke probably 5 or 6 times before last Saturday. And we wanted to make sure that everything that she had requested to be done got done. So that's really the key. And that's what I'm here for, is to make sure that the work that has been done has been properly recorded and that is accepted by the recorders on the other side of the veil, so that those people can move forward. Thank you.